Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at tabletop gaming.
Oh, nice.
Specifically, the second edition of the SCP tabletop game.
Okay.
It's a game that blends sci-fi and horror and, collaborative storytelling. And
Yeah.
it's just really interesting. We're going to be looking at excerpts from an article called Pasted Text.
Cool.
And let's just jump right in.
Sounds good.
So for those who aren't familiar with what the SCP Foundation is, where did it come from?
Well, it actually started as like a collaborative writing project on 4chan's X board
Oh, wow.
way back in 2007.
Yeah.
X is known for the paranormal, the unexplained, and all that.
Yeah.
So really, it's just blossomed into this amazingly detailed universe filled with thousands of, unique, often terrifying objects and entities.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all documented and categorized as SCPs.
So how does like a purely digital phenomenon like that translate into a tabletop format?
Well, that's what's so fascinating about this game. It takes that core concept of the SCP Foundation, the containment and study of the anomalous, and it turns it into like a hands-on experience.
Oh, cool.
You're not just reading about these things, you're interacting with them.
Yeah.
You're making decisions that could determine whether they're contained or whether they break free.
That's awesome. And, the article mentions that the game has like a really high enjoyment score and a really good mechanics rating. So what makes it like such a successful adaptation?
Well, for one thing, it stays true to the spirit of the SCP Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps that core blend of sci-fi, horror, and challenging decision-making, but it also does like a fantastic job of translating those elements into engaging gameplay mechanics.
Yeah.
You're not just fighting monsters, you're strategizing how to contain them, how to minimize the threat they pose, and sometimes you're even grappling with these tough ethical dilemmas that come with dealing with the unknown.
That's really cool. Sounds like they really nailed the transition from digital to tabletop.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this second edition. The pasted text article hints at some exciting updates.
Right.
What stood out to you?
One of the biggest changes is the character creation system.
Oh.
They've added 3 distinct methods for building your character, which allows for a much wider range of playstyles and backstories.
Ooh, that's interesting. More options for character creation are always a good thing.
Always.
What kind of character creation methods are we talking about here?
Unfortunately, the article doesn't delve into too much detail about all 3 methods.
Okay.
But one that caught my eye was a dice buying mechanic, where you allocate dice to different attributes.
Oh, cool.
It sounds like a really flexible system that gives players a lot of control over their character's strengths and weaknesses.
So you could create a character who's like a brilliant scientist, but maybe not so great in a firefight.
Exactly.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, and that ties into the different character classes available, which mirror the real-world SCP Foundation structure.
Yeah.
Researchers who focus on understanding the anomalies, security personnel tasked with keeping them contained, and scientists who bring their expertise to analyze and potentially exploit these strange phenomena.
That's awesome. I love that attention to detail.
Yeah.
It just makes the game world feel so much more real when it reflects that.
Definitely.
So now that we talked about the character creation a bit, what about the gameplay itself?
Sure.
How accessible is it for someone who's new to tabletop RPGs?
From what the article describes, the game seems to strike a good balance between accessibility and depth.
Okay.
They use a standard 7-die set, which makes it relatively easy to pick up for tabletop beginners.
Okay.
But they also incorporate some really interesting mechanics that add layers of strategy and complexity.
You had me at standard 7-die set.
Yeah.
Simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But hold on. The article also mentioned something about an exploding dice system.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? I've heard of it, but never quite grasped the concept.
It basically introduces an element of unpredictability and excitement into the rolls.
Okay.
When you roll a certain value, you get to roll again and add the results together.
Oh.
Which can lead to some like dramatic outcomes.
Okay.
It's like a sudden surge of power or a critical failure.
Oh.
Perfectly mirroring the chaotic nature of the SCP universe.
Okay, now that's a mechanic I can get behind.
Yeah.
Talk about keeping players on the edge of their seats.
For sure.
So we've got character creation down, dice mechanics down.
Right.
Now let's talk about what players actually do in the game.
Yeah.
What kinds of scenarios can they expect to face?
Well, the game seems to offer a really diverse range of missions and scenarios.
Okay.
Inspired by the SCP Foundation lore.
Mm-hmm.
You might be tasked with securing a newly discovered anomalous object, conducting research on a particularly baffling entity, or even engaging in combat operations to neutralize a threat.
So you could be playing a tense game of cat and mouse with like a sentient statue one day,
Oh, yeah.
and then coordinating a full-scale assault on a dimensional rift the next.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That's the beauty of this game.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable, just like the SCP Foundation itself. And to add even more challenge, they've incorporated a threat level system that dictates the complexity and danger of each mission.
So the higher the threat level, the more strategic thinking and risk management is required.
Exactly.
It sounds like they've really thought this through.
Absolutely. It forces players to think carefully about their actions and resources, just as the real SCP Foundation would when dealing with potentially world-ending anomalies.
Wow.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The article mentions some advanced gameplay elements that take things to a whole new level.
Advanced gameplay. Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Tell me more about these elements because my curiosity is officially piqued.
We'll delve deeper into those in a bit. But let's just say they involve things like reality bending and anomaly interaction.
Wait, hold on. Reality bending?
Yeah.
As in altering the very fabric of the game world.
That's right.
That sounds incredibly intriguing and potentially a little terrifying.
It definitely adds a whole new dimension to the gameplay, but we'll have to save that discussion for later. Right now, let's focus on another key element of the game, the Game Master.
Ah, yes, the all-important Game Master. What can you tell us about their role in running SCP campaigns?
Yeah.
Especially in this second edition.
Well, from what I gather, the Game Master plays a particularly crucial role in SCP the Tabletop game.
Okay.
They're not just a referee, they're a world builder, a storyteller, and a master of suspense.
Right.
They have to create a believable and immersive experience for the players.
Yeah.
One that captures that unique blend of horror, sci-fi, and bureaucratic absurdity that defines the SCP Foundation.
That sounds like an incredibly challenging but also incredibly rewarding role.
Oh, for sure.
What kind of resources does the game provide to support game masters in creating these immersive experiences?
The article mentioned a few things that stood out to me. There are quick start guides to help new GMs get up and running,
Okay.
as well as more in-depth guides specifically focused on running horror campaigns.
Oh, cool.
It sounds like they've really thought of everything to make the GM's job both manageable and enjoyable.
It sounds like they've really gone above and beyond to create a game that's both engaging and accessible for players and game masters alike.
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got those tantalizing, advanced gameplay mechanics to unpack.
We do. Reality bending, anomaly interaction,
Mm-hmm.
those mechanics could lead to some truly mind-bending scenarios.
Oh, I'm excited.
But for now, let's take a quick breather, and then we'll dive into those uncharted waters in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
So picking up where we left off, those advanced mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
really add like a new layer of complexity to the game.
Yeah.
It's not just about, following procedures. It's about thinking creatively and adapting to unexpected situations.
Right.
Just like the real SCP Foundation would have to do if faced with like a containment breach.
Totally. It's like those moments in the SCP files where a seemingly, minor detail suddenly spirals into a full-blown crisis.
Exactly.
You think you've got everything under control, and then bam, a reality-bending anomaly throws a wrench in the works.
Exactly. And that's where those reality bending mechanics come into play.
Okay.
Players might need to think outside the box, maybe even bend the rules of the game world itself to contain a particularly dangerous SCP.
Okay, before we go any further, can you explain how reality bending actually works in the game?
Sure.
It sounds incredibly complex, even for, seasoned tabletop gamers.
It's definitely a more advanced mechanic.
Yeah.
Best suited for players who are already familiar with the core rules.
Okay.
Imagine a scenario where a team is facing an SCP that can manipulate time.
Okay.
With reality bending, they might be able to temporarily rewind a crucial action to avoid a catastrophic event,
Oh, wow.
or perhaps even exploit the anomaly's powers to their advantage.
That's incredible. It's like having a cheat code for reality, but with potentially dangerous consequences.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
Right.
The article emphasizes that, reality bending isn't without its risks.
Yeah.
Tampering with the fabric of reality can have unintended side effects, even creating new anomalies or exacerbating existing ones.
It's that classic sci-fi trope, playing God rarely ends well.
Right.
But in the context of a game, those unintended consequences could lead to some truly memorable and chaotic moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It introduces a sense of tension and uncertainty.
Right.
Players have to carefully consider the potential consequences of their actions, just as the SCP Foundation would in real life.
Yeah.
The article even hints that some campaigns might center around dealing with the fallout of a reality-bending experiment gone wrong.
That's an interesting twist. It's not always about containing the initial anomaly. Sometimes it's about cleaning up the mess left behind by attempts to manipulate it.
Right.
What about anomaly interaction?
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that earlier, and it sounds equally fascinating.
Anomaly interaction is all about finding ways to engage with SCPs beyond simply trying to contain or destroy them.
Okay.
It might involve communicating with a sentient anomaly, studying its behavior, or even attempting to reason with it.
So you could have a whole campaign focused on trying to understand and peacefully coexist with a powerful SCP, rather than just locking it away in a concrete box.
Exactly, and that opens up like a whole new dimension of ethical considerations and role-playing opportunities.
Right.
It challenges players to think about the nature of an anomaly, the limits of human understanding, and the potential consequences of interacting with forces beyond our comprehension.
It sounds like this game isn't just about rolling dice and fighting monsters. It's about exploring the philosophical and ethical implications of the SCP Foundation's mission.
Precisely. And it's that depth of thought that elevates it beyond a simple tabletop game.
Right.
It becomes a platform for exploring complex ideas, challenging assumptions, and engaging in meaningful discussions about the nature of reality and the limits of human knowledge.
That brings up another point that the article touched upon. The crucial role of the game master in creating these thought-provoking scenarios.
Right.
What specific challenges and opportunities do they face in running an SCP campaign?
The game master's role in this game is absolutely critical. You're not just a referee. They're a world builder, a storyteller, a master of suspense, and in some cases, a philosopher guiding players through these complex ethical dilemmas.
So they need a pretty diverse skill set.
Definitely.
It's not just about knowing the rules, it's about creating an immersive and engaging experience for the players, right?
Right. They need to have a deep understanding of the SCP lore, be able to create compelling scenarios that stay true to the spirit of the source material, and know how to balance the horror and sci-fi elements without overwhelming the players.
And let's not forget about those advanced mechanics we discussed.
Right.
Reality bending and anomaly interaction could easily go off the rails without a skilled game master at the helm.
Absolutely. The game master needs to be able to guide the players through those uncharted waters, ensure that the mechanics are used in a way that's both challenging and entertaining, and keep the narrative on track even when the unexpected happens.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balancing act, but one that a skilled game master can handle with finesse.
The article mentioned some resources that are available for game masters. Yes.
Can you refresh my memory on what those were?
Yes. The game provides quick start guides for new game masters, which are a great way to ease into the system and learn the ropes.
Yeah.
For those who are looking to delve deeper, there are also more detailed guides specifically focused on running horror campaigns and incorporating those advanced mechanics into the gameplay.
So whether you're a seasoned game master or a complete newbie, they've got you covered.
They do.
Seems like they've really thought of everything to make the experience as smooth and enjoyable as possible.
And that level of support is crucial, especially for a game like this.
Right.
It's a game that demands a lot from its game master, but it also offers a wealth of creative opportunities and a chance to tell truly unique and unforgettable stories.
It's that combination of challenge and reward that makes being a game master so appealing.
Yeah.
Especially in a game that's as rich and complex as this one.
For sure.
But let's not forget about the players.
Yeah.
What makes this game so engaging for them, aside from all the things we've already discussed?
Right.
Well, one thing that really stands out is the way it taps into the existing SCP community.
Okay.
Players can draw inspiration from the thousands of SCP files available online, incorporate elements from their favorite stories into their campaigns, and even contribute their own creations to the ever-growing body of SCP lore.
So it's not just a game, it's an invitation to become a part of something much larger.
Exactly. And that sense of community is a big part of what makes the SCP Foundation so special.
Yeah.
It's a constantly evolving entity, driven by the passion and creativity of its fans.
Speaking of passion and creativity, let's talk about that exploding dice mechanic for a moment.
Yeah.
That really caught my attention.
Yeah.
How does it enhance the gameplay experience?
It adds a level of unpredictability that perfectly mirrors the chaotic and often dangerous nature of the SCP universe.
Huh.
You can be meticulously following containment procedures, feeling like you have everything under control, and then boom, an exploding dice roll throws a wrench into your plans, forcing you to adapt and think on your feet.
Yeah. It's like a reminder that no matter how prepared you are, there's always an element of chance involved when dealing with the unknown.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so thrilling.
Yeah.
You're never quite sure what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
which keeps everyone on the edge of their seats and makes every decision feel consequential. It's a brilliant mechanic that really captures the spirit of the SCP Foundation.
Now, I have to admit the dice buying character creation method also caught my eye.
Yeah,
It sounds like a fun and flexible way to build your character.
it certainly does. It gives players a lot of control over their character's strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
allowing them to create a character that truly reflects their desired playstyle.
Yeah.
And because you're literally buying dice to represent your character's abilities, it adds like a tangible element to the character creation process.
I can imagine players spending hours agonizing over how to allocate their dice, trying to find the perfect balance between combat prowess, scientific knowledge, and maybe even a bit of luck.
Totally. And that's before you even factor in their character's backstory. It sounds like the game encourages players to create rich and detailed backstories, which can add another layer of depth and immersion to the gameplay experience.
It's like they've taken all the best immersive storytelling
Yeah.
and blended them seamlessly with the captivating lore and unsettling atmosphere of the SCP Foundation. It's a recipe for an incredible gaming experience.
And we haven't even touched upon the psychological and philosophical aspects of the game yet.
Oh, right.
The way it forces players to confront their fears, to grapple with ethical dilemmas, and to question the nature of reality itself.
Those are some pretty heavy topics for a tabletop game.
They are.
It sounds like this game goes way beyond simple entertainment.
It definitely does. It's
Yeah.
a game that can make you think, make you feel, and maybe even make you question everything you thought you knew about the world.
Well, on that slightly unsettling note, I think it's time for a quick break. But don't go anywhere, because we'll be back in the final part of our deep dive to explore those psychological and philosophical aspects in more detail. And we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts on what makes this game so unique and compelling. All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive on the second edition of the SCP tabletop game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've talked about, the mechanics, the character creation, the game master, and all of that stuff.
right.
But now I think it's time to kind of dive into the things that we only briefly touched upon earlier,
Okay.
like reality bending and anomaly interaction.
Yeah, those are some really interesting mechanics.
So let's start with reality bending.
Okay.
How does that work in the game, and, what kind of impact does it have on the gameplay?
So imagine you're facing an SCP that can manipulate time.
Okay.
With reality bending, players might be able to temporarily rewind a crucial action
Oh, wow.
to avoid a catastrophic event.
Okay.
Or they might be able to even fast forward through a dangerous situation.
Oh, that's interesting. They're essentially manipulating the very fabric of the game world.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like they have the power to rewrite reality itself.
Right.
But like we talked about earlier, it's not without its risks.
Yeah, tampering with the fabric of reality can have, unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And a seemingly minor change could ripple outward, creating new anomalies or exacerbating existing ones.
Right.
It's a reminder that even with the best intentions, manipulating forces beyond our comprehension
Yeah.
can have, disastrous results.
It's that classic cautionary tale about, the dangers of playing God.
Exactly.
But in the context of a game, those unintended consequences can lead to some really unexpected and exciting twists.
Right. It's like those moments in, SCP lore where, a containment breach spirals out of control and it leads to this chain reaction of increasingly bizarre and terrifying events.
It's like a snowball effect of craziness.
Exactly.
So the game really embraces that sense of chaos and unpredictability.
Yeah, it challenges players to think on their feet, adapt to, constantly changing circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
and make difficult decisions with potentially, world-altering consequences.
And that's where the Game Master's role, I imagine, becomes even more crucial.
Right, because guiding players through those uncharted waters of reality bending,
Yeah,
that's, a challenge.
for sure.
It demands a lot of creativity, flexibility, and a deep understanding of the game's mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
The Game Master needs to make sure that reality bending is used in a way that enhances the gameplay experience
Right.
without completely derailing the narrative.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balancing act, but a skilled Game Master can turn those reality bending moments into some of the most memorable and thought-provoking parts of the campaign.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about anomaly interaction.
Okay.
What are some examples of how players can engage with SCPs in a more nuanced way,
Sure.
beyond simply trying to contain or destroy them?
So imagine encountering a sentient SCP that can communicate telepathically. Players might attempt to, establish a dialogue, understand its motivations, or even try to, like negotiate a truce.
Wow.
It's a far cry from that traditional approach of, shoot first, ask questions later.
It's like a diplomatic mission into the unknown.
Right.
What kind of opportunities does that open up for role-playing and character development?
Well, it adds a whole new layer of depth and complexity to the game.
Okay.
Players might need to draw upon, their character's unique skills and personality traits to navigate these interactions. A skilled negotiator might be able to reason with a hostile entity,
Yeah.
while a scientist with a deep understanding of the SCP's nature
Right.
might find a way to exploit its weaknesses.
It really sounds like these advanced mechanics encourage players to think outside the box
Right.
and approach each encounter with a mix of caution, curiosity, and a willingness to, engage with the unknown.
And that's what makes this game so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about fighting monsters. It's about exploring the nature of anomaly, the limits of human understanding, and the ethical implications of our interactions with this strange and unsettling.
It's a game that can make you question everything you thought you knew about the world.
For sure.
So we've talked a lot about, the mechanics, the gameplay.
Right.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the, broader cultural significance of the SCP Foundation and how this game taps into that.
Well, the SCP Foundation is such a fascinating phenomenon.
It is.
It's a testament to the power of, collective storytelling.
Yeah.
This shared universe built by thousands of contributors who are all drawn to this allure of the unknown.
Right.
It reflects our, collective fascination with the things that go bump in the night, the things that defy explanation, the things that make us question the very nature of reality.
And I think this game captures that essence perfectly.
It really does.
It's not just a way to, spend an evening with friends.
Right.
It's a portal into a world of endless possibilities.
No.
A celebration of human imagination and a reminder that there's still so much out there that we just don't understand.
It's a game that encourages us to embrace the unknown, to explore the boundaries of our understanding, and to confront our fears with a mix of curiosity and caution.
Well said. And for any listeners out there who are intrigued by what they've heard today, I encourage you to seek out SCP The Tabletop Game and embark on your own journey into this strange and unsettling world.
You might just discover something extraordinary.
And that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the SCP Tabletop Game.
It was a pleasure being here.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of the unknown.